everybody. Welcome back to our post-apocalyptic episode of On the Line with Babsie. I'm your host, Michèle Haines, voice actor, comedian's daughter, recording live at soundbox.la, where I also work. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but yeah, I work here too with celebrity studio owner, voice talent, and musician Tim Friedlander. Yay! Okay, today is my dad's birthday, so we're having a little tribute to him. So let's get Babsie on board for that.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, sweetie.
Oh, you knew it was me.
Yes. Is my volume up too high?
It's fine if you don't do what you just did.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, okay. Oh, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm so glad, honey.
Oh, let's watch the nicknames.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You mean we're on?
Yes, we are.
Oh, is Uncle Steve going to be there? Oh, is he?
No, he's
no.
not there. So,
Oh,
Uncle,
okay.
let me just explain. Uncle Steve
Sure.
is my dad. Thank you for your permission. Uncle Steve is my dad's youngest brother, and he
Yes.
I know you know.
Oh, yes, yes.
And
yes.
he agreed to be on the podcast as long as he doesn't know he's on the podcast. So
Right.
let's see how
Okay.
long we can keep that a secret.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll just pretend I'm talking to him on the phone.
Great. And try not to hit the buttons either.
What buttons?
Okay, forget it. Doesn't matter. All right. So when we call
Oh.
him, I figured you and I can both say hi at the same time.
Oh.
Do you
Well,
know-
he'll think we're together. Oh, that's a good idea.
It doesn't matter.
Is Tim there?
He is.
Hello, Tim. Oh, your beautiful voice. And I know what you look like, too. I feel I know you.
That's right. Tim just had a write-up in the
Seattle
paper? Skagit Valley paper.
Oh, what is the valley?
Skagit, like the one you just read.
Well, yes. I have it. I skimmed it, but I need my magnifying glass to read the rest, even though I can expand it a little bit. But, that is so wonderful. I know someone famous.
Oh.
That's
You know
That's
Regis
wonderful.
Philbin. Remember when you scared him at the
died.
train station?
I was so angry that his wife had my shoes on and my purse.
How did she get a hold of your clothing?
Well, they must have had her size in the shoes, and I thought, those are the shoes that I wanted.
Oh.
But she had my purse in a different style, and I thought, well, I've had mine first.
That's
was
the
a
first
long
I'm hearing about this. Okay.
Really? Oh, it's one of my favorite lovely purses that's still around.
Well,
Yeah.
when we accidentally met him at the train station, you kind of fanned out, forgot your children's
Oh.
names, and he called you crazy.
Yeah. He did? Oh, yes. What is this crazy woman doing in Greenwich or whatever? And I thought, oh boy, he just insulted me.
You were actually
and then
hoping...
I didn't like him.
Oh,
Oh.
wow, you gotta ruin it, don't you? You were hoping he would mention the crazy lady on his show, but he didn't.
Oh, I didn't want him to say crazy, but he could have said that I was at the Greenwich station and we met a very nice person with her 2 children that directed us. And
you should have been a writer on the show.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, well.
Oh, yes, but.
Well, now you have a chance to air your grievances.
Yeah. No, I still like Regis, but yeah, so sad that he's gone. But anyway.
Well,
yeah.
Speaking of people being gone, Dad is also gone, so we're having a tribute to him on his birthday today, February 5th.
2021.
Yes.
And yes, and he was born in 1943.
Okay.
Yes. So your dad would have been, I did the addition and subtraction.
Yeah, what'd you come up with? 22.
Yes, I almost said he was 23. No, he would have been 78, and I think he would have looked just great. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. He passed, 43 from 21.
I know how to do math. I just wasn't doing it.
Oh, yes. Well, I did that anyway. He'll be so happy.
He will. Oh, and Dad, if you're listening, please don't mess with the tech. If you want to dim the lights, that's cool. And Mom would also like a sign, since texting her and sending her a picture through text wasn't enough.
He sent a picture?
He drew a picture in your phone. Oh, the lights dimmed.
Yeah, they did?
They did in here.
You're kidding.
I'm not.
Oh, my goodness. He's giving you a sign.
Oh. All right.
I'm not getting anything.
You're probably not paying attention.
It's still bright. No.
Okay.
Well, I am.
Okay.
I'm looking for signs, but I'm sure he hears, and that's very nice. So, yes. So are you all right?
We are. Let's call Uncle Steve.
Oh, let's do.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll say hi at the
I'll
same
be
time.
quiet.
No, say hi at the same time.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'll say hi silently.
Oh, silently?
No, just say hi. Ugh.
Of course
yes,
I
we
will.
are. Ugh,
yes.
Will we ever be?
Tim has such a wonderful voice.
Oh.
Are we dialed? Sure.
You can talk. It's just noise.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well.
Oh, it must...
Oh, we'll have to call back. Okay. See you, Mom.
Call me
Bye.
back?
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Oh, me?
Yep, just answer the phone.
Yes. Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Steve.
He's not here yet. But good practice, yes. Just like that.
Yes.
And let's do another take.
I'm afraid I'm going to laugh. Oh.
It's okay. It's Uncle Steve. This isn't an audition.
Well, that's true. Oh, he is a
He won't know who I am if I laugh.
Oh, yes. I'm ready.
Great.
Okay, Tim, thank you.
Suspense.
So don't forget we're together.
What? What are you talking about?
Don't forget we're together on
Are we?
on our call
Yeah.
to Steve.
I'm not really following the point here, but I won't forget. I'll write it
Oh,
down.
I thought that was pretty easy.
Don't
Sorry.
forget we're on a call.
Hello,
All right.
this is the Wallace Haines Company's robotic secretary. We can't take your call this moment, but we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Please.
I guess that.
No,
We didn't say anything. He will be. I'm going to try one more time and then a little later.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
Did he know that you were going to call him?
No, that's the whole point. This entire thing is a secret because
I
he was
know.
not comfortable being on the air until after it happens.
I know, but honey, why didn't you say Mom and I? Yes,
Because
sure.
I'm a moron.
Well, why couldn't we have told him
Let's
that
not
we
argue.
wanted to call them together?
We could have.
Oh, then he would have been ready, honey. You should have.
Spontaneity. Oh, yeah, I'll send him a text.
Oh, good idea.
I'm full of
he
them.
doesn't like to text, but try. Can you email him? Oh,
Let me
I
try
don't know.
something.
We should have
Hello,
said,
this
Mom.
is.
Oh,
Or I'll call him from my cell and tell him that you and I are conferencing into him.
right. Okay,
Okay.
I'll hang up.
No,
Bye.
stay put.
Oh, stay put.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I
Just
thought
follow
I-
directions.
But honey, if you should have told me how you were going to do this, because then I would have said, well, just tell him that we're going to call him together for Dad.
I get even with the heathen.
Hi, Uncle Steve. It's Michelle.
Oh, it's Michelle.
Hi, Hello. I'm
Me
actually.
too.
I'm calling you from a weird number because Mom and I are trying to conference call you.
Oh, you want
We-
a conference call?
Yes, it's your
Yes.
brother's birthday
May
today,
we-
and we wanted
Mom,
to
Uncle
do
Steve
it
can't
together.
hear you, but I can't hear myself think because you're talking in the headphones.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
dear,
Okay.
is it? See, so we're expecting Sarah and Dennis to arrive
Oh.
on Sunday, and so we've been kind of working our heads off to.
Oh.
How long do you think this will take? Can we?
Not long. We're just saying hello.
Oh, not
Oh.
long, Steve.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Michelle, I see these
Can
numbers.
Steve hear
Yes.
me?
See, and the
Mom, stop
917,
talking.
I forget sometimes that that's New York, whereas the one that Sarah
Oh.
calls from is from Tennessee, and so I sometimes confuse the two.
Oh.
But I
Well.
always answer those
Oh, well,
calls.
that's good you
Oh,
did,
thank
Because
you.
it's either
Steve.
you or your brother or Sarah or her husband, and we're
Oh.
expecting Sarah, and so the reason why I said good evening, this is Stephen, I thought she would laugh.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that
did.
was just perfect.
Mom, Uncle Steve can't hear you yet. Stop talking.
Oh,
May we
Oh.
conference call you quickly to say hello together?
Oh, sure.
Okay, we'll call you
Sure,
back.
Uncle Phil's.
Okay. I don't know what the number is going to be because the conference
Oh,
call changes it, but that's us.
It's that weird number that I got before.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll answer.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
great.
But, it's just that
Bye.
right now I don't have a lot of time to spend. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I just,
Oh, well, it's your
'cause I'm
brother's
very nervous and we have
birthday.
everything in uproar. We're trying to clean the house and all that.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
anyway,
Oh,
anyway,
well,
go ahead and call.
yes.
Okay, sure.
Oh, good.
Just 1 second.
Okay.
Bye. Mom, oh man, I
I-
can't hear myself think. Uncle Steve can't hear you. I think I said that a few times.
I know every time you say conference, I think I'm on.
You're not
Oh.
Alexa. Every time I say conference, just remember what I said before.
Oh,
But now you can talk because
Good evening, this is Stephen. I get even with the heathen. Are you heathen?
tonight?
Hi,
Sure.
Steve.
Hello. I'm just kidding you now. Just kidding you.
We get it.
And Uncle Phil's going to go in the next room and call a patient. So
Okay.
I always wonder why people don't have more patients, but you
I
know,
don't either.
Uncle Phil has a lot of patience, and
That's good.
I'm talking about patience with me as well as patience,
Yes.
as well as patience with an S at the end.
Understandable.
Well, let him go and talk to the patient, and we will talk to you.
That's exactly
That's all
what's
right.
happening.
He's got a call a patient, so we were just talking actually about old times, and we were
really?
talking about my father's preaching versus Hayden Carruth's preaching, which Hayden Carruth was my brother's father-in-law, and so we were kind of talking about that. But we're not arguing, not vociferously at least. We're only arguing gently, you know.
Oh, good.
Oh, I love when the three of you argued. It was hysterical.
No one loves bad times like Mom.
You have to remember, Barbara, you have to remember the name of our cottage here in Eaton Rapids was Quiet Harbor. And for years and years, my mother, the sign needed to be fixed at one point, and it came down, and she was going to have it repaired, and she had it repaired, but because of the fact that we were rather an antithesis of our name, she was too ashamed to put it up.
That's a good call.
Something. Oh my goodness! When you three, no, actually, I think it was you and David when you were going back and forth, and then you changed from English to French, and David's arms are flying, and your art. Oh, it was just hysterical. But you loved each other so much that it didn't matter. But I'll never forget it. But
well, you know, Ed Richmond.
Tell us more.
Well, Ed Richmond was he was an old guy who was here at the camp meeting grounds, and he used to love to go to dinner with us. And he says, "I just like to see you Haines brothers interact."
Yes, I know. It was something you couldn't even write a script for. It was hysterical. But tell us more about. Oh, you know what I want to hear is David would boss you around or something. He always wanted to be the general or something. It was so funny.
Well,
Wasn't
this is when we were children, you understand. And I tell you, Barbara, someday, I want to warn you, I will find that note where he wrote, where he gave his contract that he made with my brother and me, and he says, General David Haines, David I. Haines, promise to pay a salary of 7.5 kroners a week to Stephen Wallace Haines, lieutenant in the Army. And once I find that, I'm afraid I'm going to have to take it to court.
Uh-oh.
Because there was no termination date. This was in Denmark. In Denmark, we were there two different times for the summer. And this was, I think, the second time. The second time, well, actually, I'm not sure. No, I think it was the first time we were there. First time we were living at the little chateau outside of Paris. And David, only years later did we find out from my mother what was going on, you see. Because David would say, well, let's play general. And he would then start telling us, he'd say, Captain Haines, which was my brother Philip, and I was Lieutenant Haines. Okay, now you need to do this. And then, Stephen, you do this. And, oh, Lord, we loved playing general. And then he would pay us a certain amount of money, you see, to be in his army because a salary was necessary.
Yes.
And it was not until I was at Stony Brook many, many years later that my mother said, well, you know, David earned, we gave David an allowance, and he was paying you boys out of his allowance to do his chores.
Yes.
We were paid to do his chores out of his allowance. I didn't even know what an allowance was until we went to Stony Brook, and they required every child to get an allowance. Mine was $1.50 a week, which I would get. And uncle, my great uncle, he paid that, and he also paid my tuition, but he paid Phil's allowance as well. It was, the tuition was $500 a trimester, I think, and my great uncle covered that. But I didn't even know what an allowance was when we were in France. All we knew is we were having great fun with David, who was our general. And, of course, you know that in the back, way in the back of the estate there was a broken down, I've told you this already. Am I repeating myself?
Nope.
No,
well,
I don't remember anything.
In the back, there was... Yeah, way in the back, there was a broken down greenhouse, and we were not allowed there. But, you know, David, my mother said David had the habit of always confessing what he had done wrong before he went to sleep. He would bring her in.
Maybe not all the time.
He would... What?
Maybe not in his later years.
Maybe not in her later years.
He always confessed when he was wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Good.
Anyway, my mother said that, when, David, rules, I guess, in my brother's mind, were made to be broken, and you'd confess later, and then, of course, you'd be forgiven. So David would go into that greenhouse, and there was a lot of broken glass there. That's why we weren't allowed to be there.
Right.
And he would take some of these rounded poles. They had a flat edge and a round, and they were round. I don't know what you call them in English. And he would, then he would saw them down, and we'd make swords out of them. You see. And my mother had bought us each a cape because my mother was so fond of the policemen's uniforms, you see. Policemen wore these capes. And so Mother had a cape for each of us. And we would then have these swords, and we would be playing swords, you see, in that there.
David was to play swords, too.
Yeah, David was a remarkable brother to have, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was just a remarkable brother to have because he had, and I imagine it's a little bit of that as the ADD in him because one thought would follow another. And so it was always interesting and exciting, you know, unless there was an obsession that got into it.
Well, yes, I understand that completely.
Yeah. For instance, when we were in Switzerland, when I was about 8 years old, we were in Switzerland. We had a magnificent, that's when I saw the most beautiful rainbow I've ever seen all across the sky. But in Switzerland, the last time we were there, my father had rented this little cottage. and right next to it was this stream that ran down. Did David tell you this? Or did I tell you?
No, I didn't know about the cottage. I wish we had it today.
Yeah, well, no, it was rented. It was we rented everything in France and in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And my father just rented it for a few weeks in the summer, and then I brought up the idea. Well, wouldn't it be fun to follow this stream up to its source? It was on the side of the mountain, you see. And
yes.
Barbara, I have to tell you, it is one thing that I wish I had kept to myself, you see. I mean, not now, of course, but at that time, it was not long before I wished that I had kept that to myself, that idea. Because my brother David said, this is a great idea. Why don't we follow this up to its source? And Phil always seconded him. Phil thought it was a great idea. Well, we were gone for about 20 minutes, and I was tired.
Sure.
And I started to say, I'd like to go back. I don't want to go all the way up. I don't know how far this is going to be. You know, and I wanted to go back. And I remember I started to cry, and then some Swiss children were coming towards us, so I quickly dried my eyes because I was too proud to admit anything.
Yes, sure.
And we ended up climbing the mountain.
Oh, okay.
All the way to the top, believe it or not.
Oh, well, if you're
and
with
each
David,
step,
you can't stop.
Well, it's just that, you see, there was no stopping these boys. And I couldn't just walk back by myself, you see. And at one point we got to where the stream was very small, and it was kind of like a desert. And there was a waterfall up above it. And in that desert, there was the skull of a dog. And later, Phil and David went back up there, and Phil got a tremendous grade in science for bringing this full skull of a dog there. But anyway, and then up above it, we had to climb. Excuse me?
I mean, it wasn't a sculptured rock. You know what I mean.
No, it was
a real dog.
A real skull, yes.
At least you could do math.
Oh, he must have been there
to a child, to probably what was an immature child of 8 years of age, I did not see this as a great sign.
No, yeah, a little scary.
I did not see this as you know, as a sign that this adventure was going to end well. I mean, it didn't end well for the dog, you know.
Yeah.
And the waterfall. How are we going to get up above the waterfall? Well, it was a cliff.
Wow.
It was a cliff on the sides. It was a cliff of brambles. You know,
oh my
and I remember,
goodness.
and of course, my brother David would always help me he was very gentle. He's very helpful.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll help you. And he helped me climb those brambles up there. Now these were not prickly brambles as far as I remember.
Right, I understand.
And then once we were up there, you know, Philip, of course, who loved to taunt his brothers, especially David. Especially because David felt so responsible for us, you know. He said, well, how about if I just jump from here? You know, I just jump from here and see what happens. And it terrified. I remember David being so scared, he grabbed him.
He grabbed him. Oh, by the collar?
What did you say? No, he just grabbed him away from the edge. This was way before my brothers had developed this fear of heights. I mean, neither one of them had a fear of heights in those days. Anyway.
Not then, but later David did.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if he fell from a building or something. I don't know what happened, you know, to make him fearful. But, anyway, go ahead with that because this story I never heard.
Yeah, but what would make me fearful of heights would be ranger training. But he went through
Well,
that.
that's exactly what he did. He went to airborne. He was an airborne ranger.
I know.
And he said,
I know.
I'm so afraid of heights. Well, when they pushed him out of the plane, he didn't have any choice.
That's right.
Right. It didn't help.
Yes.
Anyway,
But
that was
tell
much
the
later. I mean,
story of how you got to the top, though.
well, we kept going, and it was extremely disappointing because at one point we had to actually climb the very stream. We could not go on. There was no edge anymore. There was no edge. It was all very thick trees, and so we had to climb on the stream, and there was moss, and it was slippery. And I remember David, was very careful with me because I was terrified I was going to fall, and if you fell, you'd be sliding all the way down the mountain, you see. And so
how fun.
So once we got past that, it turned into a marsh. It was very, it was décevant. How do you say décevant? It was disappointing.
Okay.
You see,
Well,
because it was just a marsh. There was no spring at the type of the stream. It was just a marsh. And so we got past the marsh, and then the tree line had ended, and we could see the top of the mountain. It was a Niederholm. The Niederholm means a small, little horn. It was a Niederholm.
Yes.
So it didn't. It wasn't a snow-covered mountain.
The Alps, the other side of the Alps.
Yeah, among the Alps, it was a small mountain. But there was a chairlift that went all the way up. I mean, so we could see the chairlift station. We could see the second chairlift station, and then we could see the top. And it looked like it was just across the field. You see.
Yes.
And so then David and Phil said, well, we're this far along, we might as well go to the top. That's the top of the Niederholm.
Of course.
So and I'll tell you, that was one of the longest hikes across a field I've ever had. Because what is deceptive is that as a mountain climbs, it looks a lot closer, you see, than it really is.
Oh, yes.
So once you were above the tree line, you couldn't quite tell distances. And we saw the second station of that indicates the problem, because the second station of the chairlift was there, and we passed that, and then it was a lot further to the top station.
Oh,
and once we got, of course, to the Niederholm. See, the Niederholm was actually a mountain where that had broken in two. So you had a huge gulf at the other side. So it was a sheer drop, at the top from the top there.
Yes.
Then suddenly we realized that it was let's see, it was close to 5 o'clock. We'd been gone for hours and hours, and we'd all be punished when we got home.
Oh, your mother. Oh, my goodness.
Not my mother, my father. My
father
said, that, he said, don't be gone longer than 3 hours. I don't know how many hours he said, maybe 2 hours. He said,
Yes,
and
but
so we had to run down the walk. We didn't have any money for the chairlift, so we had to run down this very steep walk, and we were running. And I mean, at any moment, you thought if you would just make one mistake, bam, you'd be all the way down.
Yes, well, you should have gotten in the creek, and you'd be down in a few seconds.
No, Barbara, I don't think that would have been very much fun.
No.
I mean, it's not the sort of thing that you have at the amusement park. This is one where you got bump, 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 bump. And by the time your body reaches the end, there's not much left of it.
Well, just jump off the cliff and you're home.
Yeah, and don't forget the waterfall.
Yeah.
Oh, the waterfall too. But Steve, nothing. If you take or go along with your brother, you can be sure you will be gone for hours.
Well, he did have this little problem with time.
I know.
I remember
He
one time when
always
he called me up. He was on the way to my house in the mountains, and he called me up and he said, "Well, I'm just around the corner. I'll be there very soon."
Oh, I know that.
4 hours later, I had discovered when he came in after midnight, and I said, "David, you called me 4 hours ago." He said, "Oh, well, I thought of this Vietnamese restaurant up in Lancaster, and so I kind of took a side journey. It wasn't very far, I just took the side journey, and I wanted to have some of that Vietnamese soup."
Oh, he stopped there, Steve, every time because it was his favorite Vietnamese restaurant because it was authentic. And he loved that soup. Whenever he called me, I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm having soup." I said, "You mean you're not at your destination yet?" And he said, "No, I always stop here." And I said, "Oh, David, you're not going to get in until 2 in the morning." But it didn't matter, just as long as he had his soup.
Well, like I say, he had a little bit of problem with time.
Steve, I don't remember a time when he was on time.
Well, see, my father and he were very much alike. And both of them compensated in opposite ways. Well, I don't know how much David compensated. They were both quite ADD, and my father compensated by being so early that everybody was surprised when he arrived,
Oh, when David would take him to church, your father had gotten dressed at 6 in the morning, and David didn't show up until about 10. So he was sitting on his bed for 4 hours.
My father, one time, it looked like we were going to be late for church, and this is when my father could no longer walk. And he said, "Well, just let me out here and I'll walk." So we were in traffic. He says, "Well, just let me out here and I'll walk." My father's compensation was totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. He had to be early. I told you about the time when my father. Of course, you see, this is kind of sad because one time the home, when I had to finally put my father in that home in Charter House, one time they called me up around midnight, and they said, your father won't leave the dining room. And I said, "What's he doing in the dining room?" They said, "He's waiting for breakfast." He's fully dressed with his tie on, and he's waiting for breakfast.
What time was it?
So I went over there, and of course I was really afraid of humiliating my father. The one thing I did not want to do, because he was such a proud man and he had been so accomplished in his life, that I just did not want to humiliate him. So I just sat down next to him in this empty dining room, and I just said, "Well, Dad, I think you might be a bit early. It's now half past midnight."
Oh, no.
And they're not going to serve breakfast for at least 6 or 7 hours. And my father, he said, "Oh, no, they're just holding out on me. They're just holding out on me." And finally I was able to convince him to go back to his room.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Oh, I always
One time he had an appointment with Doug Coe. And I, of course, was up late, often working, and I noticed that he was getting dressed in his finest attire, and he used to dress very well. My father really, he was always very, he well dressed, and they bought him these nice suits and all that, and
he was
and
around
he was
some
dressing at about 1 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and he was
ahead.
dressing at 1 in the morning, and so I said, "Well, Dad, they're not coming for you until 8 in the morning."
Yeah. Oh.
And he said, "Well," he said, "I just cannot be late." And finally, I convinced him, and he said, "Well, maybe I'll just go lie on my bed then for a little bit longer."
Yes. Yes. Oh, I mean, it was. I mean, it was very funny, but he was very serious about not being late. So, but he started a little too soon. Yeah. But
now, and so far as lateness is concerned, I think David, he made it to work pretty much on time, didn't he?
No.
Is that right?
No.
Yeah,
In fact, he
I do remember getting to church. Usually you would get to church for the benediction.
We'd walk in during the final song, and Dad would sing at the top of his lungs.
Yeah, I can't lay that completely on David. He was a little bit of a nag, but you were not perhaps the most enthusiastic members of that church.
You do have a point.
Because if we were going to go, I was ready to go, and he was always late. One time we walked in, and they said, "Amen," and that was it.
One time. That was pretty much every time.
Well, yes, and I said, David, it infuriates me to go when they're saying amen and everybody's taking everybody else's money and putting it away. I said, you didn't even get your check in there.
Oops. That wasn't entirely
went
Dad's
up and
fault,
put his-
though. That David and I helped a lot with that.
Well, I did too.
Dad was, if he was on time for something, it was for church, and then he was trying to get us up, and then he was dressed and everything, and then he would go feed the dogs and do another project. And so, he had help.
Yes, it wasn't all his fault because I knew we were going to be late anyway because he was going to do all these other things before we left because it was very important. So when we walked in, Amen was already said, and I thought, oh, gee, not again. So anyway. But that was, yes, every Sunday. But
well,
Steve,
I hesitate to tell you this.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, yes.
No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I have nothing.
I hesitate to say this because it sounds like I'm criticizing my brother, and I don't mean it because
that's okay.
I actually adored the guy.
We know.
I know.
Even in our worst arguments, there was something just wonderful about him and his ability to, little by little, change and understand your side of the picture, you see.
I see.
I wonder if you remember Buzz.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Do you remember him, Michelle? You were kind of little then.
I do.
I'll
be Michelle. You can, yes, I do.
Huh?
I do remember him. Was he an actor?
Yeah, he was an actor, and he was kind of funny. He was always joking and all that, and you kids loved him.
Yeah.
You thought he was so funny.
He always had.
I mean, if anybody was funnier than I was, he was.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was that funny because I always thought you were so funny. Oh, but so what happened?
Well, one time I was going to help Buzz move to New York, and this is actually one of the most. It was a very tense time because I was really. I was very much in debt, and unfortunately, I gave him a lot of.
Yes.
I did a lot for Buzz to help him, and
Yes,
I kind of stretched myself just to the end of my credit. I didn't have any credit left, and anyway, but that's another issue. I'm just saying. And one time, the plan was we were going to go and pick up David's truck, and he was going, and that way. We would haul the things that Buzz owned, from the little place that he stayed all the way up to New York, where he had an apartment. He had a room in an apartment that was about as big as my little sewing room here. My Mrs. Clegg, the farmer's wife who used to live here, she called it her sewing room. I have my fiction and literary criticism in there, in all the books. But it's very tiny space. Book. Yes. Anyway, we went there to pick up the things, and David had a very ambivalent feelings towards Buzz. For one thing, Buzz is a guy who, I don't know if, I think he had already, I had lent him, David had lent me his bicycle, and I lent it to Buzz, and it never came back to my apartment.
Oh, I remember.
So I couldn't give it back to David either. Of course, David didn't care. He wanted to give it to me. But I, Buzz was very irresponsible. He also crashed my mother's car, but let's not talk about that.
Well, I sort of remember the problems. Yes, but forget that. Yes.
But we went to the farmhouse, and David was often his usual self. He was always very. He would tend to take over conversations and friendships and all that. He was very gregarious. He's quite gregarious,
Yeah.
And I remember. After when we were about to leave, David remembered that he really could use some help in putting some air conditioners up in the house. And he said, well, Buzz, would you help me do this and that and the other?
Yes.
And Buzz, and would you do this and that? Anyway, we got into the truck, and we started to go up the lane. And Buzz turned to me. And he started laughing. And he says, I thought you were crazy. But you're sane.
Oh, boy.
I mean, you're sane. Your brother is insane.
It's that obvious, huh?
The truck looked like it would make it across the street. Oh my God!
What did you say?
Well, I was going to say the truck didn't look like it could make it across the street, and he's going to go all the way to New York.
Well, no, it wasn't that. No, the truck. No. The truck was fine.
Sorry.
If anything, I was too more careful, and Buzz kept saying, "No, it'll be fine, and all this," and I was a little bit more worried about his stuff, flying off.
Oh well, yeah. Oh, sure.
It's sort of like your father, Michelle. Your father had this big tarp, and one time we were moving things. And I warned him. I said, David, the only thing you're forgetting about is something called the wind. And sure enough, one was wondering at one point if the wind was going to take us up into the air. beside the point.
Oh my. Oh.
At
my
any rate,
gosh.
when Buzz said that, I thought that was interesting because you see, David was obviously thinking of all these things, and his ambivalence towards Buzz, added to the combination. Because obviously he felt that Buzz ought to do something more for me. Because after all, I'm lending him my truck. He's lost the bicycle I gave my brother. He crashed my mother's car. I think these things were going through David's mind, and it seemed to me, to David, as though Buzz ought to be able at least to help him put some air conditioners in his windows.
He had quite a tab going there.
Yes.
But you see, the way David would bring it up, it was often at the last moment. It seemed like and it was a little jerky. You see, and that is a condition of ADD. Of people who have a little bit of attention deficit.
Okay.
They have all these thoughts. They're brilliant people. I mean, he was brilliant. There's no doubt that he was brilliant. And you know how David could convince you that he was listening, because he had tremendous immediate recall. So if you said you haven't been listening to me, he'd repeat every word you'd said for the last at least 2 sentences. You see?
Yes.
So he had good immediate recall. The problem is, if an hour later you had asked him if he had been listening, he wouldn't remember at all what you'd said. You see, this is a condition of ADD. Really.
Yeah.
But
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Because I would tell him things, and he would say, "Oh yes, I'll do that," and then
it's more what you would tell
I
him
don't
not
know what
to do.
happened. Oh, most of the time, yes, it would say, "Do not." Well, for instance, with the tractor, the children and I and my mother went to Connecticut. And he wanted to stay home because he didn't really like to, go and eat. Well, sometimes he didn't want to go. So anyway, we went, and I said, "David, don't do anything foolish while I'm gone." So when we arrive in Connecticut, I get a call, and he said, "Oh, now, Barbara, I just wanted to tell you I'm in the hospital, in the emergency room, but I'm all right. The tractor went over on its side because he was cutting in the dark on a hill, and it turned over and went on him. He dislocated his shoulder. He walked up the lane and got our neighbor, and the neighbor drove him to Kirk on post." And I said, everything I tell you to do, you do the complete opposite. And he said, "Well, I just needed to finish." And I said, "Well, you finished very well, so you're finished for tonight." And he was back on the tractor with the dislocated shoulder the next day. So anyway, but he never...
Well, Barbara, now, may I just offer you one little criticism?
Oh, no.
Sure.
To tell someone like David, to give him a blanket suggestion or command not to do anything foolish is to expect him to keep that in mind when the other thoughts tend to come in, you see. To keep that in mind as a kind of blanket covering.
I know.
You see.
I know.
If you say it to me, I mean, I am very much aware, actually, of not doing things foolish. Like, for instance, the last time I slipped on the ice, I went whack, flat on my back, and I was very fortunate that I didn't have a concussion and I didn't hurt my back, actually. And so since then, I have this general dictum that is very much like what you said David should have. Don't do anything foolish.
Right.
Yes,
See?
while I'm
especially
while I'm gone.
But I can keep it in mind, you see, so I can now predict that, if I lift something from a certain way, it may cause pain, you see. But
right,
I don't,
yes.
But for a dear person like David, whose thought came a million miles. I mean, they tended to come as though angels were falling from heaven,
Yes,
in myriad and
and
variegated fashions, you see. These thoughts would occur to him. I think that you might have said what you might have said instead is, David, when you do something foolish, give me a call. So I'm aware. You see? That might have been something that he could have done, and which, in fact, he did do. Because after all, that is what he did.
Steve. Yeah.
See,
I made
the thing to do,
every
if
time.
you want to be a general if you want to be a general who is always obeyed, tell people to do something that they're going to do anyway, you see. When you do something foolish, just notify me. And I'll support, you and give you comfort and all this,
Oh, now you
until,
tell
of
us.
course, the next time you do something foolish.
Yes. I know, and I made the mistake often telling him, David, don't do that. Oh, I know what, too. Every time he wanted to cut those acres, I said, David, please don't mow under the windows at 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, the children will be asleep, and I'll be asleep, and I don't want to wake up. Well, guess what? 1 or 2 in the morning, he does the very back under the windows to finish, and he did all the other part of the field at 5 o'clock. And I thought, oh, he's doing it again. And I told him, don't mow when it's late. And yes, it never worked, Steve. I never got you.
Well, again, if I might just suggest, now, years after the fact, if I might just suggest that you should have modified your command with this. David, as you mow the lawn in the middle of the night and go under the windows of the children, do not expect them to be very alert the next day in school. You see? That's all. You just don't expect them, to respond with their hands up at the first question that the teacher has, And
I know.
Because, again, the thing to do is to learn the art of giving commands that will be obeyed, you see.
I know.
And then perhaps suggestions that there may be consequences for those things. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm just kidding you anyway.
I'm glad you said that because I got it wrong every time.
Yeah, you
I
did.
said, David,
Well, dear,
please don't do this. It happened.
Yeah. Dear, what you need to do right now is go back in time and just slightly alter these things, you see.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll
but,
tell him up there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'll tell you, I miss him a great deal.
Oh,
Sometimes I think of the silliest arguments we had, and I miss him terribly because
yes.
I know they were silly, and I know that I should have expected such a reaction. One of the first times I felt that my therapy was working was when I started arguing with my brother, and suddenly I realized I could just stop.
Oh.
Yes.
Really? We're not aware of that one.
And the amazing thing was that as soon as I just stopped, the whole tenor, the whole temperature dropped. And he would start thinking about what I had been arguing about and seeing my viewpoint, you see. But as our voices increased in volume, as the temperature went up, you know, it was never useful. It never did any good.
Yeah, but it sure was funny when I saw it. I mean, it was hysterical. I loved every moment of it because I never. And then you would, as you stopped, he would say, "You know, Steve, I love you very much," and but wouldn't he?
Sure.
Wouldn't he say that to you? Not always.
Oh no! Usually it would start. He would start seeing my point of view. Actually, I remember one time. It was when I first moved east. In fact, I'd had group therapy. Actually, group therapy was one of probably the most helpful therapy I ever had, because I remember I remember the people in the group telling me that I was argumentative. And I said, I'm the least argumentative person in here, you know. I said, I'm not argumentative. I just care about the truth. Suggesting, of course, that they didn't, you know.
Yes.
And so,
I had a problem with being argumentative.
Well, then one day, after this group session where I had told them that I was definitely not argumentative, I was only interested in the truth. And it started out when one of the girls in there said that she hated shaving her legs because actually her she says, then I always cut myself, especially if the razor is dull, and or you know, I cut myself. And no, especially I've forgotten which way we were now. But anyway, and then the first thing I said, well, frankly, I think it's worse when it's dull, or when it's worse than when it's dull. I said the opposite of her. Okay.
Yeah,
that's where this argumentativeness came up.
Shaving your legs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shaving. Well, you know, the next thing I knew is I was shaving one day. This was shortly after that group session. I was shaving, and I had to have a new blade in, and I suddenly thought, how argumentative can you get?
Mom will show you.
Arguing about whether a sharp blade cuts or a dull blade cuts.
Yes.
How argumentative can you get? And that's when I realized I was argumentative. I was the most argumentative of anybody there.
Well, you won.
Oh, but yeah.
And then when we came east, and my brother and I started to argue one time. We were in the truck, and we started arguing. It was going up and up, and we each topping the other. You know, each top. I suddenly realized, you know, I can just stop.
I don't
know how you did it. Yeah.
It took only a few minutes before suddenly he started saying, you know, Steve, really, I see your point. I just think this and that, and his voice went down. Everything seemed to quiet down. You see.
Well, I wish you had told me that a long time ago. Because
you can't. When you're in the middle of a battle, it's very hard to get advice from people who are miles away.
Yeah.
When you're in the middle of a battle, all you can think about is, you know, what's what's my immediate strategy to keep from getting killed? Well, my immediate strategy to win the battle, you see. It's real easy for people on the side to give advice, but, it doesn't always work.
I understand. The problem with me is, I forgot. Oh. My train of thought went away.
I'm sorry.
Watch your
if I
brother.
had
No.
interrupted you, your train of thought would have become stronger.
Oh, no.
So it's my fault.
Not always. No, it isn't
kidding.
your fault. But I'm not going to argue with you.
I'm just kidding anyway.
Yes. But with your brother, he would say something to me, and I would say, that is not what I'm talking about. And he was saying, well, yes, it is. And I said, no, and I didn't want to be misunderstood. So it was going on and on and on. And it could have been about a toothpick, it wasn't anything important.
Yeah.
It was most of the time it had no consequence to anybody's life. Oh.
Except
but while you were in that situation, Barbara, it was the most important thing in the world.
That toothpick.
You see, that's the problem with perspective.
Well, I just didn't want to be misunderstood. And he didn't understand what I was saying, so I would keep arguing and arguing because I thought, I know I can change his mind. I know, but it didn't work.
But Barbara, he was more convinced that he could change your mind, you see. See, that's the problem with arguments. Is each is more concerned with changing the other person's mind, you see. It becomes all important. We see this, of course, with, people who think, that the world is going to end if the other party wins. We gotta go and tear down the Capitol.
Oh, no.
We gotta show them something.
Gosh. Oh, gee, I wish I could have been like you and not, said any more and just, but it was,
now, don't think for a moment I was perfect. Don't think for a moment I was perfect. One time, I remember this is way before I had therapy. I remember one time when we were coming back from a trip, and we had such an argument, and I was just not going to take it anymore. And Mother and David were in the front seat, and I was in the back seat. And we were just going up MacArthur River Drive, just across the river from here. We were near the cottage, and I wasn't going to take any more. So I said, David, stop the car so I can get out. And he thought, oh, no, he's just putting it on. And he wouldn't stop the car. He was going about 30 miles an hour. And so I opened the door and I jumped out. I jumped out. I tore up my back badly. And I got up and I was so angry. I ran the rest of the distance to the cottage. And I didn't yell at David. I yelled at my father. I started yelling and yelling. And meanwhile, while I was still yelling, Sue, my sister-in-law, began to take the gravel out of my back. She started one by one to take the bits of gravel that were encrusted in my back.
Oh, you really
David,
did
however,
jump out.
had stopped the car after I jumped out. He had stopped the car, and he was terrified by that.
Yes.
Yeah, he had stopped the car by then, and he had done it. So that's why I ran back. I got there back before they did. I ran back, and I started yelling at my father, and I don't know I mean, it was a lot of anger
Yeah.
that had built up over many years. And meanwhile,
Sure.
Sue quietly began to take the pebbles out of my back, and they were
Oh,
it was
my
just ripped up. My back
goodness.
was ripped up.
Hmm.
Now
Oh,
later,
my goodness.
when we were living
Yes.
in West Berlin,
Yes.
we had again a big argument, one topping the other, and all that. This was right on the Kurfürstendamm. You know where the
Yes.
Kurfürstendamm was sort of like the Champs-Élysées of West Berlin. And
Yeah,
we were
we were
going
in
down the
Bavaria.
Kurfürstendamm. Excuse me?
Yes.
Yeah,
well, we were in
and,
Bavaria, but what is that, Steve? I'm
well,
not
it's the
familiar
main.
with
It was the main when Berlin was divided into West Berlin and East Berlin. I don't know what their main street avenue is, but Kurfürstendamm was the Champs-Élysées. It was the main avenue down West Berlin. You see.
Yes.
And we were driving down the Kurfürstendamm in the middle of traffic, lots of traffic there, and I could not take it any longer. We were arguing and going up and up and up and up. And I said, David, stop the car, or I'm going to get out. And my brother immediately stopped the car. He went over to the side and he stopped her right there because he told me later, he says, I knew that you would jump out. And he was terrified that I'd kill myself.
Oh, my goodness. Well, the one time that David and I went to the movies in Towson, he insisted that we go to a second movie, which would make us getting home about 2 o'clock. I said, David, if you don't get the car and bring it and we go home, I am going home myself. So he got the car, and for some reason he got out of the car. I closed the door, got in the driver's seat, and I left him in Towson. And he walked all the way home from Towson to here, and oh boy, was he mad.
How long did that take?
But anyway, it took him a few hours.
They didn't have taxis?
He wouldn't. I don't know.
My goodness, that's a long distance.
Yeah.
That's a long
know.
distance.
And every mile I drove, I thought, oh no. And then I thought, wait a minute. He's an airborne ranger. He can get a cab and get home. So I went home boy.
One of your things, I think that you saw him as a kind of Superman, that he had enormous physical strength. He certainly had enormous mental strength.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yes, I had both.
Yeah.
So I thought, walking, I mean, I didn't want him to walk. I thought he'd get a cab or something. And here he comes. He said, I walked along 95. And I said, well, that is ridiculous. And he said, yeah, I can't believe you left me. I said, I told you I was going to leave you there if you didn't stop with the movie. So anyway, so then he would go back to one movie, and then he started 2 movies, and I said, I'm not going to the movies with you anymore. So, but Steve, what that story about the English trip and the wheelchair, they thought that David, it was your father's wheelchair. You were there, weren't you?
No.
When you went to Griffith?
At the last minute not to go. I didn't go with him.
Oh, all right. It was Phil and your brother. But anyway,
David,
is a story.
The way
that's
David
priceless.
told that, he said, he just said that he was tired and he saw a wheelchair there, and he just sat down for a moment, and then everybody thought he was disabled. So he went along with it.
I thought Dad was trying to get grandfather to sit in the wheelchair, and he refused because.
Oh, That's probably true. What you just said, Michelle, is probably I think that is what he said. Yeah. He was trying to get my father to use the wheelchair. My father refused, and so he thought, well, heck, I'll sit down.
And I think somebody tried to wheel David through the cathedral because he wouldn't be able to walk. I don't know what happened to your father. Your father probably ended up. Oh, what, honey?
Well, Dad said that he was wheeled up to a balcony next to a boy who really belonged in a wheelchair. And then as the boy was watching the tour guide, Dad slowly backed away and wheeled down the hallway and then was miraculously healed, got out and grabbed everyone and left. He's like, come on, we gotta go. I'll tell you later.
Oh, my gosh.
My father did.
Yes.
My father did get his notions, and he would refuse things, and he did not like to be seen as being in less than competent. So I can see him as refusing a wheelchair at that time. Yeah. Now later on, when he really couldn't walk, it was different. Right. He would get an obsession that if you just help him get up, and man, that gave a lot of trouble to the people at the home where he was staying, because ADD people are capable of obsessions, and they can't drop them, and they can't remember that they tried it 10 minutes ago. My father did not. Well, he had also a problem with memory then too. So he couldn't remember that he had tried it 10 minutes ago and couldn't stand up. And, but he just would get this kind of obsession that if you just help him get up, it would be easy, you know.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that time at one of the children's graduations, David was in a wheelchair, and we were going to get the car, and there was a very steep hill down to the car. And Michelle, do you remember? Yes, and I said to your father, I said, if you don't behave, all I have to do is let go of the wheelchair. And this couple drove by in their car, and they heard me. And the man said, ma'am, that is abuse of the disabled, and I hope someday you learn that you're not going to let that wheelchair go flying down that hill. And I said, oh, well, I was so embarrassed.
That
and
you let go.
David looked around and he said, see? And he said, I had the brake on. And I said, well, good. But they heard me, and I was. Whoops. That happened in Walmart one time. He was always getting into those motorized carts, and I know his hip bothered him, but it took us an hour to go down one aisle, and I only needed a couple things. I said, David, don't get in that cart. Well, there I went again. He got in the cart, and he's motoring a half a mile a minute and, you know, putting along. And I said, oh, would you hurry up? And, a woman heard me, and she said, how dare you talk to him like that? And I thought, he's my husband.
Oh, great. Well, when Dad was in
people get, people are busybodies sometimes. Reminds me of that woman
but
who...
they were completely right if I really meant it. Of course, but I didn't mean it. I mean, I was joking with David, although, I didn't want to be in Walmart for 2 hours getting just, a handful of things. But he was puttering around, and I think he... one time, he was trying to make a U-turn in the aisle, and somebody's cart was there, and they got connected, and he couldn't get unconnected, and the whole aisle was blocked for I don't know how long. And I said, you know, David, would you just follow me in the cart and just stop trying to U-turn in the middle of a Walmart aisle? So anyway, yes, that's the way it was.
Well, you told Dad
that was last time.
when Dad was said he had pain in the hospital. You said, "Well, someday you're gonna look back and forget."
Oh, I understand the pain now because I have a little bit of pain too. And I thought, oh my goodness, I would say, come on, David, you're not. It's because he had conditioned me to be able to do anything, whether he had pain or not. And I wasn't
it's true. He did have that.
Him.
He had that kind of willpower where he would just overcome it, and
he would force himself. Yes,
he would force himself. My mother had that too. They were all. I'll tell you one thing though, Michelle. You'll be aware of this as your mother gets older, and I was one thing that bothered me very much is how people talk to old people. Mm-hmm. I remember one time a girl. This was while I was in LaVale, and I had white hair already. I mean, I've had white hair since my mid-30s, but this a woman called me honey, and I said, I just turned to her, and actually I was quite impressed with her reaction. I said, just because I'm old doesn't mean I'm a honey. I'm not a child. Just because I'm old doesn't mean I'm a child. And that's the meaning. Yeah. And something, she actually changed her. I was quite impressed with her because she actually changed. She wasn't offended by that. She had changed the way she approached me in the future.
Well,
but I don't like to be called honey anyway.
Anymore.
It's kind of. I see it as kind of vulgar, I mean, I'm talking about being called honey by somebody you don't know,
Well, and, I don't like that at all.
The one time when it was the worst thing, but it makes me laugh when I think of it. I remember one woman when my parents were both in wheelchairs and they were at the church there at the National Presbyterian Church. And we were down in the area where people go to meet and all that, and after the service and all that. And one woman just said to me, "Oh, they're just so cute. I just like to take them home and just love them." And
I know.
I felt very tempted to say, "Okay, go ahead. Take them home. You get what you deserve. You get what you deserve." Because my parents were anything but. They had strong wills. They were anything but little obedient children. They were not obedient. They were not children. They were very willful and determined.
Oh, yes. Your mother had a will that just wouldn't bend.
I mean, just remember that time when when David just said. He just made the comment, well, maybe we'll wait till tomorrow to go take the goose to lay her down, And you remember that, Michelle? You told me that.
Yeah.
She was not going to have that. She goes, "Now, David, you take it." And that's because she saw that goose as holding him back. Oh. My mother was very protective of us. It was just like the talk about the cat,
Yes.
She saw that cat that I had as just holding me back. I'd always have to think of who's going to take care of the cat. If I go on vacation, no matter what do I do? So here she is with her magnificent long fingers just kneading the cat. The cat's going... That cat had the loudest purr of any animal I've ever heard, including all of Dina's cats put together. But she was going... and just loving those fingers, just kneading the fur and all that. And meanwhile, my mother would say, "Now, Stephen, you just have to let me take this cat. I'll do it humanely. I just have to put this cat to sleep. We just have to get rid of this cat. This cat is just going to hold you back, and all this." And she's doing that. Meanwhile, the cat's going.
Well, your mother had a lot of practice with drowning the cat. Oh. Anyway,
well,
we won't go into that.
She told me once very late in life, she said, I only could do it with 2 of the cats. She says, I really couldn't do it anymore. That was when she was a child.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. That's another. But, I imagine we should let you go.
You know that my brother Philip does not want me to talk about my mother in front of his family. I mean, his in-laws.
Oh.
Because I once told
in-laws.
that story
Oh, no.
at the table. And they did not appreciate it at all.
Oh, no.
Oh,
About dads.
They didn't know the Haines.
About midnight.
They just didn't know the Haines. Oh, well, they don't understand.
It's
this was about my mother and her dealing with her cats. Her mother just said, I mean, they had a dairy, and they did have a lot of cats.
Mean you told that at the dinner table? Oh,
I told that at the dinner table, once. And Dina's, my brother said, from now on, he says, don't ever talk about my mother, about mother again.
Well, I understand.
They were aghast.
Yes.
I mean, this is a family, where if there is a fly, Dina has a what she calls a bugzooka. She goes and she'll trap the fly and she'll take it outside and let it go.
Yeah.
If there's an ant crawling across the floor, no matter how small, she'll go and take that bugzooka and she'll carefully take it up with her fingers, let it crawl all over her fingers and get it outside.
And Mom has a taser. She'll just tase it.
Oh, I do have a taser. Yes, David bought it for me in case someone walks in. I know how to use
mailman.
it. So, anyway,
you see,
the mailman.
The relationship, let's put it this way, the relationship to bugs is very different between my family and my brother's wife's family. My brother sort of agrees with me that the best thing to do with a bug is to get rid of it, you see? If you take it outside, you're taking it away from its children, its mother and father. I mean, think of it. It's like taking it across the ocean into France or something. Though France, of course, would be a wonderful
but I don't like bugs.
Be, but...
we have the
bug
assault gun. What is it?
It's a bug assault.
What, honey?
You're killing bugs.
Oh, the bug
salt.
assault. Well, if that isn't the greatest invention, it's a how do you explain it? You cock it and you pour salt in the top. It is a wonderful. Yeah. Everyone should have a bug assault.
I use it in tandem with my.
There's a bug on the ceiling.
I have a tennis racket that electrocutes them once they fall off the ceiling from the bug assault.
Oh, but honey,
but don't tell
actually,
Dina.
we have a bug assault if you want it.
I have one.
David bought 2 more, and actually, it is wonderful. Those bugs, if you see one on the ceiling and you assault it with salt, it's gone. And it's just the most wonderful invention. I would buy stock in that company if he went public. It's just
Well,
wonderful.
you see, there's a far cry from your Bugasol and Dina's Bugzooka,
Right.
because
Oh,
your Bugzooka
yeah.
will suck it into a little chamber, and then you take it outside, and then you release it.
Yeah.
Oh no, there are
And I have
enough
seen her
bugs
do
to
this
go around.
time and time again.
Well, not me.
To
My
each
brother
their
says-
own.
Not me.
My brother says,
Yes.
he says, just take it into the toilet and don't tell her. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Especially those
have you-
stink bugs. Look. Yeah.
have you noticed something, Barbara? Your daughter is
not
laughing
sure.
a lot.
Yeah,
I
do
know. I know.
And
she
I
thinks you're
love
so funny.
Michelle's laugh.
that. Oh, thank you.
Me too. Yes.
Oh, well.
Yes, it's
And that's-
very special.
and
yeah.
That's the reason why I keep going on and on. I do love to hear
Oh,
her laugh.
well,
Thank you.
we probably shouldn't
Yeah.
keep you any longer.
Oh yes, I'm in the
It's
middle
up
of a
to
total
Michelle.
uproar here.
Right.
I've got to work night and day until Sarah and Dennis arrive and
yeah,
make the
I
house
understand.
clean, and
We
I
understand.
got a lot of stuff to put away.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll,
All
we'll
right,
call you
yes.
again when you're free another time.
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
and
think of some
obviously
really
this has only
good
taken
stories.
10 minutes.
Whoops.
Oh.
This phone call has only taken 10 minutes, so it's very much like your father's.
Right.
I'm just around the corner. I'll
Yeah,
be there in
yeah.
just a couple minutes.
It's only
Yes.
7:20 in Pacific
Oh.
time if you want to think that way.
Oh,
Well, yes,
well,
you have that luxury.
yes, well, unfortunately, oh, Steve, I forgot where you are. Oh, you're in Michigan. Yeah. I thought, yeah, your time is the same as our time, yes.
Yes.
But anyway,
That's right. We're
All right.
yeah, we're on the same, yes. But anyway, we
Right.
should let you go and do your work. But we'll do this again and think of the stories of the family and Big David, because he's up there listening. And
Well,
he's laughing too.
I'm sorry if I've said
So-
anything that reflects poorly on him,
Not at all.
because I really
Oh,
I really
not at all. He's
miss
to
the guy a lot.
blame.
Yes, we did too.
And one thing,
No.
one thing our family was able to do is laugh at ourselves. And my parents
I know.
they would laugh at themselves. They knew that they were eccentric,
Yeah.
and
Well,
They-
they were wonderful.
they were eccentric.
Yes.
My mother once told me that.
Well,
She said,
I don't
your
think
father
so.
and I are eccentric. No kidding.
Well, that's okay, but I didn't think they were. I thought they were just lovely. I was very lucky to have had them as in-laws, and I love you very much, and Phil, and I'm sorry that I don't know Dina, but anyway, no. Well, but we'll talk again soon, Steve.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay?
Well, thank you very
All
much
right.
for calling.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Anytime.
sure. And have a good visit with the family.
Sarah.
With Sam
Sarah.
and Dennis.
Yes.
Yeah. Dennis is my
And Dennis.
tallest nephew.
Mm.
Dennis
Oh,
is my
oh.
tallest nephew.
Oh.
He
Yes.
is
Well,
he's 6'7", isn't he? I think.
Oh. Wow.
oh my
6'7".
goodness, that's tall. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, give him an extra
You see-
long bed then.
You see Sarah next to him, and she looks like half-sized.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're
well,
wonderful.
Good.
They're wonderful people.
Good.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad they're coming to see you.
Mhm.
And just have a
Yeah.
wonderful visit. And we'll
they're-
talk again soon.
Yes.
I'm going to
Yes.
say something that to them that my mother used to say.
Oh.
Don't look in the corners. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you don't have
The
to
house
do the
is not going to
corners.
be perfect.
Oh,
okay.
sure. You don't have
Of course,
to
Mother-
do
Mother would
anything that
prefer-
special.
Mother would
Yes.
prepare for a cleaning lady by going around the house and saying, well, we've got to clean it. We can't let the cleaning lady see what it is.
Oh, I know. I had to. Oh, cleaning lady quit on me because I had too many things around the house. So I thought, oh, good. I don't like you anyway.
Why should I fire her?
So,
Huh? I just
Oh,
wanted you to come
anyway.
over and waste
Well-
your time.
no. But Steve.
Thanks for stopping
Oh.
by. I didn't want you here.
It would take me a week to get everything out of the way so she could clean, and she was a poop anyway. So I was glad when she took her vacuum and left. So anyway, she said, your house is too difficult. I said, oh, okay, goodbye. So
and then
that
she
was
tripped
it.
over my shoes on the way out. I said, good.
What was that? I missed that last bit.
Mom always leaves her
Oh.
shoes in the middle of the walkway for some reason. She
Yes,
probably
I have
tripped
them
on
right here.
Yes.
But Steve, do have a wonderful
we've given you-
visit, and well, yes.
How can you not have? You have so much material to work with.
I know.
I expect you to write many stories on us.
Uh-oh. Okay,
know.
Oh,
And-
yes,
but anyway.
sure.
Yes.
Or
Yes,
do what you're
well,
doing
there's-
now.
Oh, yeah.
Just laugh at them.
That too. Yeah.
Yes. Well, he's very
Well, okay.
happy that we were all able to talk. And
Right.
just take care of yourself and stay well.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll
Okay.
talk to you soon. Okay?
All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Love to Phil,
Right.
too.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye.
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 Is he gone?
I don't know.
Well, how do you know?
I don't know. I don't know how to hang up. But, oh, okay, he's gone. All right.
What?
No, he's
Oh,
just
gone.
off the phone.
Oh, phew. Well, I thought he'd never stop talking.
Oh, Mom, what the heck?
Oh, I don't mean that badly, but I thought, no, I don't mean that badly, but I shouldn't keep you that long, I know you have a lot of other things to do. So,
Yes.
but that
okay.
was, I don't know, you'll probably have to cut most of it out.
Yeah, as usual, we don't do that. Do you have your computer on?
No,
Okay.
but
well,
you
next
want
time.
it on?
No, next time I
Why?
just have to send you something to read out loud.
Oh, sure. Well,
Okay.
should I put it on for tomorrow?
No.
No. Oh, okay. All
think
right.
we've-
Well, I'm going to let you go, and
Oh.
that was a long time, wasn't it?
Oh. Yeah, kind of. No, it was a good
Well,
time.
I hope Tim was it. Well, I hope Tim can kind of shorten it. Maybe there were some things in there that wasn't necessary. I guess.
I think we've
But-
taken enough of Tim's time. We'll just deal
Oh,
with it.
yes.
Anyway.
Yes, of course. And Tim, thank you so much for doing. Oh, yes. So I will let you both go so you can,
yes. All
wrap
right.
up
Yeah,
everything.
we'll do the
All
short
right,
goodbye.
honey.
How about it? All right.
Yes. Okay. You hang up. Because,
Oh boy. Okay. All right.
all right.
Talk to
Goodbye.
you soon.
I'll say goodbye because I'll talk to you again soon.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Bye, honey.
Goodbye.
Bye, Tim.
Bye. Do you have
Take care of yourself.
By the way, did it
Yes,
snow
okay.
a lot by you?
Yes, but then it got warm and it's very messy and melted.
Oh, so
So
you didn't
we're fine.
you didn't need any help getting the cars out?
Oh, no. David did the driveway first And then the second day, they came with little John Deere, very cute little tiny little plows, and they did the driveways. So it's fine. It's all gone now.
Oh, that's
But
too bad. Okay.
anyway, but I will let you go.
Yes.
And take care, honey,
Okay.
and Tim.
Yes. All
Okay.
right.
All
Okay.
right. Bye.
Bye.
I'll hang up right away. I promise.
I'm
Bye.
sure you will. Okay. Goodbye.
I will. Bye. Bye.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. That's enough of On the Line with Babsie for today. We'll be back soon. We won't wait another year this time. Thanks. Bye.